I am here with Maxime Rossi Bellom. He is a security researcher with Quarkslab, and he is here to share new techniques for taking control of a Samsung Galaxy and stealing its secrets. Hello, Maxime. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for receiving me.
Tell us a little bit about why you chose this area to focus on in your research.
Well, first of all, I have been working on this field for a couple of years now, and so yeah, it's a field where I'm quite confident with, and I have some knowledge about how the device starts, and basically, yeah.
So you've been looking at a Samsung Galaxy in particular, or devices, hardware devices generally?
So we focused our research on a specific device, which is a Samsung A225F device. So it's a device that is based on a MediaTek system on chip. So it's the CPU of the device that is made by MediaTek.
Okay.
And yeah, so we have found a couple of bugs that we present in this research, and but these bugs, so we found them on this device, but they also applies on other devices of the same family of device from Samsung. And
is it that where the
common point of all these devices is that they all have a MediaTek system on chip.
Okay.
So they are most of them from the Galaxy A family of device. So they are, let's say, low and middle end devices.
So how ubiquitous are these devices? Are there millions of them out in circulation? Is it a specialized kind of piece of equipment?
No, they are very common. These are the devices you will find if you look for a Samsung for less than $400, it's probably going to be one of these devices. So not necessarily based on MediaTek, but at least part of this family of devices.
Understood. So tell us a little bit about the attack chain. How are adversaries going to get in there?
So basically the chain of bugs that we present, there are 4 bugs. And the first part of these bugs are, for these first bugs, we target one of the bootloaders. So basically it's when the device starts, it will run this piece of code in which we found the vulnerabilities. So for the attack, we need to shut down the device. We plug the USB cable, and then we trigger the exploits. And from there, we take control over this piece of code that is going to load the full OS that is called Android in this case, and we take full control over Android. So basically, we gain root access on Android from the USB cable.
So this sounds fairly low tech. Is that the case? Is this a pretty easy hack to pull off?
Once you have the exploit implemented, yeah, it's kind of easy to use. Definitely.
And tell us about the exploit. How does that work?
So the exploit will use, so there are 4 bugs here. There are 4 exploits. The first one is to flash some JPEGs on the device from the USB cable. That's the first part of the exploit. I'm not sure if the people watching us are familiar with Odin. This is the recovery protocol that is designed by Samsung. Basically, when your phone is bricked, you can recover it using this tool. Okay. So we have found a first bug here, and
in this
thanks to that bug,
Samsung-specific recovery tool.
Exactly, a Samsung-specific recovery tool. And from there, we will drop some images, and these images will be printed on screen by this bootloader. So when they show Samsung as a logo, basically they are using images. And we found a bug in the way that they load images in this bootloader. So it's a heap overflow, for using technical terms. And basically we can execute, thanks to that, we can execute code inside this bootloader.
And so what kind of code would an adversary execute to do maximum damage?
Yeah, so the code we executed is basically we are modifying a bit the Android system so that we gain root privileges.
Okay.
And then the next time the device boots, we can install anything. Like we can install a piece of software with all the privileges that we can use later to access the images, the messages. We can turn on the microphone, we can use the camera, whatever we want, basically.
So this is something that could be potentially very valuable to an APT group or someone that is doing a lot of surveillance and espionage, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Have there been any examples that you found of this being exploited in the wild, or is this still under wraps?
So Similar example of these specific bugs being used, you mean?
Correct.
So these bugs, we reported them to the vendor, so they are now fixed, and to my knowledge, no one else except us exploited them.
Okay.
So no.
No.
To answer your question.
And so there is a fix in place. Do you have a concern or a hunch that these sorts of exploits are perhaps more common across other devices than Samsung, this specific version? Is this a unique issue to these devices with that chipset?
So, I think this type of issues are common. They are not necessarily easy to find because usually the bootloaders, the piece of code that is supposed to load the full OS is closed source most of the time. So for researchers like me, it's not easy to get into it and find bugs. So that's probably why it's not that easy to get there in the first place.
So what is the takeaway? What do you want the cybersecurity community to take away from this beyond just these specific exploits in this specific device?
Yeah, so the first reason why we wanted to present this in the first place is to share knowledge. We wanted to share our experience with other researchers so that they could basically apply the same patterns on other devices or maybe on the same device. And also it's probably we have not seen many researches targeting low and middle-end devices. Most of the time, these devices are leftovers by security researchers. They rather work on flagships, and there are many users for these devices. So why not looking at them as well? So yeah, that's one thing. And as a recommendation, I think for generally when it comes to smartphones, you should update your devices. You should remember my mom having always these notifications on her phone saying there is an available update. She was never applying the update. So that's something you should do every time there is one. It would prevent. It will fix vulnerabilities such as this one. Yeah.
How was it working with Samsung with the disclosure process and them applying fixes? Was that an easy interaction?
Yeah, they made it very easy for us. We reported the vulnerabilities. They have a security research team who is handling this, and actually we reported the bugs through an email, but there is a platform that you should use for that. So in any case, they were super reactive and super responding, and they fixed everything in time so that we could disclose the vulnerabilities in conferences such as Black Hat.
Wonderful. So anybody who is out there with these devices, they can feel confident that these vulnerabilities have been shored up.
Yeah. And they should update their device, definitely.
And update your devices. That is the consumer tip. Tell me where our audience can find out more about your work and what's going on.
So I guess Black Hat will publish the video of the talk and the slides, but we will also most likely, so we will release the proof of concept on GitHub. So all the scripts we use to exploit the vulnerabilities they will be released, and maybe there will be some a blog post about the research if we have some updates about it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Maxime Rossi Bellom from Quarkslab, who has taken a look at the Samsung device and found some interesting things. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.